Just want to do a quick video talking about the benefits of getting your hay cut. There's quite a bit to it, so it's not an easy decision on whether you want to do it, but we'll walk through the numbers and you can make that decision for yourself. In my recent video, which I'll link in the description, I went through the process that we went through to get the hay cut. To start with, I'll just mention the substantial impact hay production and sales have on my area of Texas. Once this time of year gets here, there is a consistent stream of tractors pulling cutters, rakes, balers, and trucks pulling trailers full of large round hay bales. The hay pastures start to fill up with bales everywhere. Some farms have covered storage for bales, some just leave them in a dedicated area of their land. In my previous video, you would notice that I moved the bales to the front of my property. There is a very specific reason for this. I'll talk about it later in the video. And let me add really quickly, I'm not a long-time farmer. I haven't done this for decades. I'm on my third year of owning this property and dealing with getting my hay cut. But that's why I wanted to do this video. I wanted to give a perspective from someone totally new to the process and kind of explain how I found the help I needed to get going. For smaller landowners like myself, there are a few options to get your hay cut. The first option is you have someone cut your hay for you, and typically they're going to keep the hay as part of this process. They would be responsible to cut the hay on your property, and this is what we did the first year of owning this property. We didn't get any money, but the guy that came out and did it cut the bales and kept them as part of the agreement. And you may ask why you even want to bother getting your hay cut at all if you're not going to make any money. Well, we'll talk about one of the benefits later in this video, and probably the most important benefit, so make sure to stick around. But remember, if you don't cut your hay, you're still going to need to maintain that property in some way. Around here, getting someone to shred, or we used to call it bush hog, your property, it could be anywhere from $40 and up per acre, and you're probably going to need to get that done a couple of times a year. So for our 10 acres that we use as a pasture, we would be probably $800 or so a year just to keep that land upkept with bush hogging. Another option is to pay someone with all the equipment to come cut the hay for you. So they'll take care of cutting, raking, baling, moving, pretty much every part of the process. Typically for this type of work, there is a per bale charge. A lot of guys around here will also charge a minimum number of bales per acre. So just for instance, if you have 10 acres and there's a $30 or $40 charge per bale, and there's also a 3 bale minimum, you're going to be expected to pay $90 to $120 per acre to get the hay cut. And this is kind of what we did last year, which was our second year with the land. We ended up only getting 8 bales of hay on our 9.5 acres. It didn't really work out good. We waited way too late in the year. We waited until the end of July. We had worked up an agreement with another guy that was supposed to come cut the hay, and he could just never work us in. He had some issues with equipment and could just never get over here. So we found someone at the last minute, and it kind of had to go with his requirements, which to me were I knew it was going to be expensive, and we knew we were going to lose money in the deal. But we still were able to sell the 8 bales we had and get back some of the money. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it definitely was not advantageous at that point. The third option is to use the share system. Under this agreement, the landowner gets a share of the hay bales. The baler, the person doing the baling, also gets a share of the hay bales. That's the system we used this year. Our share was set up as follows. The baler got 2/3 of the bales, and we get to keep 1/3 of the bales. We ended up getting 19 round bales this year. The baler ended up taking 13, and we got to keep 6. But anyway, it still worked out very well, and so far this has been the one that worked out best for us. And the last way to get your hay cut is just simply to cut it yourself. Now again, this is going to be a bit of a challenge. New hay equipment can be very, very expensive. Just a baler alone, for a large round baler, you may be looking at $30,000 to $40,000 easy for some of the smaller ones. And if you're getting into the really big ones, it could be up to $60,000 fairly quickly. So which of these options should you choose? Well, that kind of depends on the amount of work, time, and money you're willing to put into it. If you want to do minimal work, you should probably just lease out the land, let someone else have the hassle of cutting the hay and trying to sell it, probably on Facebook Marketplace or somewhere.
Just make sure you find someone reliable. And looking at all these factors, it becomes even questionable. Is it even worth having someone else cut your hay at all, or cutting it yourself? But there is one more piece of the puzzle you need to consider, and that's really where this video has been leading up to. The next benefit of cutting hay, and it's probably the biggest benefit on your land, is the possibility of getting what some people call an ag exemption. I typically hear it called an ag exemption. Technically, it is not an exemption. It is a special use appraisal. There are a few different types of special appraisals available in Texas. Today, we're specifically talking about the application for 1D1 Agricultural Use Appraisal, Form 50-129. I'll post the link to this form in the description. I'll also post a link to a very good handout produced by Texas A&M. Using this handout and quite a few trips to my local tax assessor, I was able to get my form completed, submitted, and approved. For land that is approved for agricultural use under a 1D1, the land is taxed based on the value of what it produces, such as crops or livestock, rather than its sale value. Put another way, the land is taxed based on its ability to produce crops, livestock, or timber, not on its value in the real estate market. And this can be a substantial savings, especially in the part of the country where I'm at, where land values are easily $5,000, $10,000, even approaching $20,000 or $30,000 an acre at the moment. Now, I'm not saying any of this suggesting anyone try to cheat the system and apply for this special valuation when their land isn't used for agricultural purposes. Having land valuated this way means less money coming into the county assessor's office. This money is typically used to support the county itself, local schools, hospitals, fire departments, roads, etc. And that being said, the county will want to make sure that everyone getting this special valuation is permitted to do so. I can say for certain my county uses aerial photography and other means to validate proper use. One of my neighbors had the county push back on part of his 1D1 application. They were able to produce pictures to prove his land had not been used for cattle or hay production as he had claimed. That's the reason that I put my hay up at the front of my property. I want it to be very obvious to anyone that works in the assessor's office and may come by that I do cut the hay each year on my property. But as far as the savings you get from the 1D1 special ag assessment, you can see how I've broken down my taxes for 2023. Without the ag assessment, my property taxes would be as follows. Value of the land, $126,700. Buildings, $269,10, making the total appraised value $387,610. Now, looking at what this means, there are three entities we pay tax to: the county, the school district, and the county hospital. Each one has a different tax rate, but they total up to 1.88%. Each entity also has a different way they support the homestead exemption. But this little chart here I made in Excel will show how the taxes work out. Without the ag assessment, my yearly property taxes would be $64.20. Now let's look at the taxes with the ag assessment. The market value of the land and buildings stay the same, but notice now they take off $121,300 for production loss. So effectively they are saying the market value of the land is $126,700, but the production value of the land is $5,400. So they're taking off $121,300 from the appraised value of the land. So you can see how this lowers the taxable values and thus the taxable amount. You can see here the difference in tax amounts going from $64.20 to $42.65, which saves us $21.55, almost 34% of our property tax. That is a very huge difference. Hopefully this video will encourage you to look at the possibility of getting an agri assessment for your land. Please let me know in the comments if you've been successful with your special assessment and what area you're in. Thanks for watching.